All right, hello. My name is Godfrey Lewis. I'm here to present Ball Carrier 101, the art and science. It really is an art and science to being a ball carrier, and this applies to not only running backs, but it also applies to slot receivers, quarterbacks, pretty much anyone that carries the football. I really think it's important that the fundamentals are put into place and it's not neglected. So we're going to get right and get started. First off, I'll talk about myself. My story basically, I'm the head football coach at Toledo Start High School. I'm entering my 16th season as the head coach, and I've coached actually at the high school level for 16 years in Canada and the United States. I'm born and raised in Canada. I was very fortunate enough to receive a football scholarship at Bowling Green State University, where in 1999, I was a Doak Walker candidate and played under two very good head coaches in Gary Blackney as well as Urban Meyer. Got to see the transition from one head coach to the other and got a lot of experience through that. In my time at Bowling Green State, I was mentored by current running back coach Stan Drayton, who I credit a lot of these drills for, not only for the time when he coached me at Bowling Green, but also throughout time coaching at football camps, working various clinics where I got to keep in touch with him. And again, I credit a lot to a lot that he's put towards me and what I've done in the past. Basically, my reflection of my career, I wanted to touch base on that first. I started off as one of the top running backs in the country. I worked hard to stay in shape, and I got to play as a true freshman. I was up for the Doak Walker Award. I battled through some injuries in my college career. Unfortunately, those things made it very difficult to continue on to the professional level, but I did sign a free agent contract in the Canadian Football League for the Hamilton Tiger Cats and had a short stint there where I was able to play some professional football. Right after playing, I got into coaching where I began starting off as a speed and conditioning coach. This is all when I was in Canada, and it was really important that I give back to the community as well as give back to the sport that I love, and I ended up really loving it. And throughout that transition, I got to see a lot in reflection of how I applied myself to the game and really just learning the importance of running the football as a ball carrier. And looking back at my injuries, of the connection between hip injuries, knee injuries, and ankle injuries. And all of those things have a connection to how functional or how productive you are as a ball carrier. As I started to go into coaching in Canada, I developed some really good athletes. I was known in Toronto as a guy, if you were a really good running back, to go see. And I developed a running back by the name of Nikhil Lynch, who was a young sophomore at the time when I met him. And I was able to develop him and put him through drills. And I really took him under my wing. I thought it was very important that not only that I train him about how to be a good running back, but also to have that mindset on how to take it to the next level. Taking it to the next level as far as your game is and your mentality is intact, but it's also looking at the way you approach the game off the field as well. So I was really fortunate to work with him, and he went on to get a scholarship at Penn State as a running back. He also went through his career with some injuries with concussions, and he ended up losing his position to another running back by the name of Saquon Barkley. You may have heard of him, but he at that time was really productive at Penn State. Went on to end his career at Nevada. And now he is in athletic administration. But there was many other running backs that I've worked with in the past. When I look at a running back and I look at what are the skills or just a ball carrier in general, um, you got to have instincts. You know, instincts is like kind of like playing basketball. The flow of the game comes to you. Football is the same way for a ball carrier. You got to have the flow of the game come to you. You got to be able to react and make plays when you can. You need to have a burst to be an essential running back. You got to have that acceleration. So coming off the ball and making a play and holding onto the football, but able to separate from defenders is something that is a really important skill set. You could not be very fast, but still have a very good burst. Elusiveness. Elusiveness is very important as well. Being able to create room and space and find creases in the line of scrimmage. All those things are very important. Being elusive is very important on top of having the burst and good instincts. And using all those qualities can help you with yards after contact. Now, when you talk about yards after contact, a lot of people think of just running over defenders and keep running. Yards after contact is any contact. If you get hit and you spin, you put your hand down and you're running, that's yards after contact. If you get to the line of scrimmage and get, standing up at the line of scrimmage and you rip through that and you bounce around and make it around the corner and score in the end zone, that's yards after contact. And all of those different traits can be done regardless of your height or weight. There is no height or weight that tells you how good of a running back you're going to be. It helps to have a certain size. It helps to have a certain body type. But at the end of the day, you got to use your strengths to your advantage. So as you're talking to your running backs, embrace that. That's something that, whether you're a tall, lean running back or you're a short squat back, look at those skill sets and put it to their advantage. I talked about being a ball carrier, being an art and science. It really is. It's a neglected art and science. Unfortunately, a lot of coaches stick any coach out there to coach this position. And as a ball carrier, there's so much that comes with it. And you got to remember, these are guys that are going to carry the load for you. After that offensive line makes their play, these are the guys that have to make the play. So if you don't coach them up and keep them going, you can lose those instinctive traits as time goes on. And when I talk about it being an art, it's an expression of the ability to create imagination, typically in a visual form of reaction. It's kind of like painting a picture. You kind of get to the flow of it. So it's an art form. Really important for that. And the coaching points of that art is conditioning ball carriers to have freedom, but still be technically sound. You want them to have freedom, but still be technically sound. So that's a major coaching point right there. And the major formula for the art is confidence improves over time, but without reinforcing the technique, the art can develop bad habits. So even though we want our running backs to be free when they're running the football and avoiding defenders and doing this and that, you want them to be technically sound so they don't develop bad technical habits, which we'll talk about shortly. That's the art part of being a ball carrier. The science is the more technical and practical systems that come into play. And it's something that you have to be able to do. You got to be able to adapt and still be able to do the things that you need to do. So the science of it is encompassing the systematic study of structure and behavior of the physical, natural, and world in front of you. So the action, the science of actually carrying the football, those things still need to be intact. Those are the technical things that I'm talking about, the action that comes into play. With that being said, the coaching points is to condition your ball carriers to be technically sound without losing freedom. Again, whether it's an art or science, do not lose that freedom, but you still got to be technically sound. And the major formula that I talk about here is the fundamentals improve over time. Without freedom, the art of feeling is gone. So you can't be too technical with your running backs or ball carriers. You got to allow for that freedom or they won't be able to do the things that come to them naturally. When you talk about the art and science of being a ball carrier, you have to be able to coach the appropriate parts of the body that are most functional, such as developing the eyes. Developing the eyes is very important. They're performing an action while responding to their environment. That needs to be developed. It needs to be stimulated and simulated. Developed, stimulated, and simulated, meaning you got to continuously work on it. You got to continuously put new things in front of them. And then you got to simulate the situations that are going to be put in front of them, similar to being a baseball player at the plate. I use the analogy of, you got to see those pitches. The more pitches you see, the more you're able to catch them with your eye. Same with being a ball carrier. Everything's happening in front of you. You have to be able to see what's in front of you, react, And as a coach, you got to put them in those situations so their eyes are continuously learning and adapting. So when they're in the game, they don't look around and get panicked. They just adapt and move on. The other art and science of being a ball carrier is rhythm and tempo. A lot of ball carriers are all over the place. You got to be able to have them adapt to their environment, but also keep to the tempo and the rhythm of what's in front of them. And neglecting or tampering with that rhythm could also have negative effects. So when we talk about how to run, what to look for, all of those things are fundamental, but they have to catch the flow of the game. They have to be able to go in there and have confidence in what they're doing. And the key is to help the running back find their rhythm within the tempo of the game. So if they could find their rhythm within the tempo of the game, it's similar to being a dancer, basically. You could teach someone how to dance, but eventually they got to catch on to the flow of the music. You can't catch them on, you can't help them do that. But there's ways to, again, develop, stimulate, and simulate that so they're able to move forward and adapt. As a ball carrier, you got to have a certain mindset. You got to drill this mindset into your ball carriers to build resilience. Being prepared as a ball carrier in uncomfortable body positions. So every drill that you do, everything that you're doing, you have to coach them up so they can adapt by putting their bodies in uncomfortable positions to build that resilience so their confidence with running in any situation and being able to react and make plays. Be ready to give them a consequence for fundamental breakdown. So we're going to talk a little bit about ball security. You have to coach that up all the time. It has to be a part of your philosophy. Ball security is just not holding on to the football. There's a way you hold on to the football. There's a way you move with the football. And those things have to be prompted on a regular basis before they fumble. It's kind of like training it's like training a dog at the same time. You have to do a lot of things with that dog before they see the consequence. You have to program that in their mind. So the way they hold the football is really key. They have to do it so long that their muscles in their shoulders get so sore that it's comfortable to be in that position. If they're not comfortable in this position, then they're not breaking into those habits that are necessary to hold on to the football. That's a mentality. I put this in here about developing the mindset. We talk about having confidence as a ball carrier. There's 3 different phases of the brain that responds to things around them. There's the executive state, there's the emotional state, and then there's a survival state. And the executive state is in the front of your brain where you make all your decisions. So as a ball carrier, you're making all your decisions. You're finding out what hold to make, what hold to find, and then you go. It's kind of like life. You got to make decisions every day. You make that choice, you go with it. Make a bad choice, you deal with it. There's the emotional state. The emotional state is your fight or flight. So based on your emotion, you may not be able to navigate like you normally would because you're either too hyped up or you're too down or you're not catching on to the flow of the game. That's where the flow of the game comes from, the emotional part of the brain. And then you got what's called the survival state, and that's right down into your spine, and that's about feeling comfortable. You can't make an executive decision or emotional decision until that part of the survival state is intact. You have to be comfortable, because once you're comfortable in your survival state, then you can move on to the emotional state, which you have it regulated. Now you can make executive decisions on where you got to go. That applies to football. If I'm comfortable with my stance, I feel good about my plays. If I'm doing well, then I'm going to feel good about hitting the hole. And then I feel good about hitting the hole, regardless of whatever comes in front of me. I'm going to adapt and react and move on to making plays out there. Running back mindset as a unit. You can't rely on just one running back or one ball carrier. You have to have multiple ball carriers. And this is something that you have to continuously, again, stimulate, simulate, and develop. You got to create an environment where those ball carriers feel like a unit. You have to have trust. You have to have trust, because if you lose one of them, you can't let the entire team go down. You have an injury, now you got to move on to the next guy. And you can't say, oh, I don't have my top running back. That's not an excuse. You got to build that unit. You got to create competitive excellence. So when you get out there working with these backs, you got to look at them and say, hey, we're getting better every single day. We're only as good as the last guy in our unit. You got to be strong together. Um, Embrace their strengths and weaknesses as a group. So this is a picture of me when I was at St. John's Jesuit in Toledo, and I was the running back coach at the time. And these were my two top running backs, and they were competing every single day. Those guys were hungry, but they were like brothers. And keep them engaged at all times. So keeping them engaged, making sure they're all interested, because at any time they could be in the game. One guy wants to be there, the other guy has to wait his turn. It came to a point where we had to put them both on the field at the same time. But at the end of the day, all the yards put together are for the unit. So if one running back or ball carrier gets 70 yards, the other guy gets 60, well, that's all the yards we get, 130 yards for the unit. You got to build that unit amongst them, because once you lose one, you can't take 2 steps back. You got to keep going. So again, it's about building that mindset as a unit. We're going to talk a little bit about ball security first, holding on to the football. And this is just a picture of how to hold the football. This comes strictly directly from one of my running back coach, Stan Drayton, who's now at Texas. And we talk about the split finger grip. So point number 1 is you want to have a split finger grip over the football. The index and middle fingers should be split from the top of the football. You want to make sure you squeeze the top of the football. Make sure that you have pressure on the appropriate pressure points. And then after that, you must have the ball directly against your body. So you want it pressed right up against your body, but at the same time, have the split finger grip and have it squeezed. Step number 4, you must have the wrist over your elbow. Wrist over elbow, all right? If the elbow is if the wrist is below the elbow level, then you're more susceptible for fumbling, swinging the football. When you have the wrist over your elbow and the ball against your body, the ball becomes an extension of the body. You want the ball to become an extension of the body when you're running the football. And then last but not least, lock that elbow to the body. Lock that elbow to the body. So as you get pressure, you want to lock that wrist and elbow to the body and apply pressure, especially when you're going through traffic. This is the split finger grip, a little closer look at the split finger grip. 2 pressure points at the top. We used to call it an eagle claw. It looks like an eagle claw right there, but just be sure that you're holding onto the football and making sure that the tips of your fingers are covering the football. You want to make sure that when you're holding the ball, that you could literally see the tip of the football. Wrist over elbow, tight to the body. That way you're able to adjust and make movements on the fly. That's very important. A lot of running backs, you see them swinging the football because there's no mentality about ball security, and it's wrist over elbow. This would not be ball security. Wrist over elbow is ball security. Any drill that you're doing, you start the drill in that position. Wrist over elbow, tight to the body, squeeze that elbow to the body. So every drill that you start, you're always in that position. Wrist over elbow, high and tight. If you look in the back, you see some other running backs. This is at the University of Texas. You can see everybody as they're waiting for their drill, they have the ball wrist over elbow. Very important. You have to train that mindset. You never want to be walking around with the ball loosely. Train those muscles so it's tight, so it stays connected to the body. That way you're able to be one with the football. The ball's an extension of you. Now, when we're running the ball in traffic, all right, ball security in heavy traffic, all right, you want to keep the wrist above the elbow, but you want to take your free hand and grab the wrist of the ball side to reinforce the ball to the body. I'll say that again. When you hold on to the football, you still want to keep the ball wrist over elbow, high and tight. And when you get into traffic, you want to grab your wrist and press it against your body. You want to press it against your body. If the defender provides resistance against holding the football, you need to hold on to it tighter by squeezing that wrist towards the body. And if their power is stronger than your power, don't fight against it, just roll with it. So if I'm holding a football high and tight, wrist over elbow, and I put my hand over the wrist, I'm squeezing it to the body. And if I feel a tug, if I can't fight through that tug, then I need to roll with it and just resist and roll with it. Keep it towards your body. My school of thought is to not switch hands. I'm not a big switch hands running back coach mindset. It's about once the ball's in your hand, is an extension of your body, and you can do whatever you can with either hand. Regardless of what direction you go, you can make jukes and cuts with the ball in either hand. And once you get out of traffic and now you get into the secondary, now you can open up and switch hands and use your stiff arm as a weapon. But when you're going through traffic, meaning the line of scrimmage, where there's D lineman and linebacker swiping at the football, keep it towards your body. Don't just put two hands over the ball. Take that off hand and put it towards your wrist and really press. And then you'll be able to see how much more effective you'll be running through traffic. Talk about body position. I mean, it never gets old. I have a picture of a football player a long time ago and then a more recent football player. The foundation is still the same. You want to keep your feet shoulder width apart and your head up. Feet shoulder width apart with your head up, really your chest up. And when you're making cuts or you're making movements and you're going from one point to another point, you want to raise or drop your pad level and maintain your form. Say that again. When your feet are shoulder width apart and your head is up, you want to raise up or drop your pad level by maintaining the same form of your feet shoulder width apart with your head up. That way, regardless if you're a tall running back or a tall receiver or a shorter squatty running back, regardless, when you transition from A to B, it's really dropping your weight down and dropping it back up. But the top part of your body should not change unless you're trying to score and get a first down when you need that extra yard and then you drop the shoulder down. But really, when you're going through and transitioning from A to B, it's feet shoulder width apart with your head up, raise your body, drop it, and that will allow you to have good leverage in your cuts. We'll talk about the first drill. We talked about ball security, high and tight, wrist over elbow. Drill number one is while maintaining ball security, hold the ball in your outside arm. You want to put your off hand in the center of the four bags while keeping your hips down. So as you can see in the diagram right here, the player has his hands off hand in the center of the four bags, and he has the ball on the outside hand, While keeping the off hand in center, rotate around the four bags in the direction by holding the ball till you reach the starting point. So basically you want to take that off hand and in the direction of whatever hand you have the ball in, you want to rotate in that direction all the way around. You want to keep your body down, leverage, and then you want to make it all the way around to your starting point. Then you finish with going over the bags, high knees, and then you could either have a coach or just a dummy bag right there where you can cut left to right. You figure out what direction you want to go. But at the end of the day, this is a great drill because you could drop your hips, you could keep the ball high and tight. And if you want to really be creative, as they're rotating around, you could get a nice agility bag and give them a little shove against the ball to make sure it stays tight. Get around the bag, get back to your starting point, high knees over the bag. Even though you're going high knees, you still maintain your body position and your ball security principles. You get to the end of that bag, make a cut, drop the outside leg, plant and accelerate. Drill number two, same principles. You want to maintain body position and ball security. But while you're maintaining those two principles, you want to shuffle through the bag. Every time you shuffle through the bag, you want to have a outside leg plant, sit that body down, and then push vertical. Now, when you're pushing vertical through the bags, you want to still maintain ball security and body position. So you shouldn't be able to go through this drill by really raising up a whole lot, other than dropping your pad level a slightly big up and then dropping it right back down. But you don't want to tilt back and forth. really important. Maintaining ball security is the key, and and you could also end this drill again with high knees, with as you shuffling through the bags, keeping your body square. Hit that last point vertical, and you could put any other agility station after that that could simulate them accelerating into the secondary. Here's a continuation of drill number 2. This is a picture of, again, Stan Drayton, running back coach at the University of Texas, my former coach at Bowling Green. And as you can see, the running back is finishing this drill, but he would have pressed to this bag, lateral jump cut step, push vertical, lateral jump cut step, plant that outside leg and accelerate. And then they end this drill with a yoga ball where he's able to use it to drop his pad level down and accelerate through the ball. Really important there. As you can see in the drill, you can kind of see the ball standing, kind of hanging out by there. You want to keep it tucked to the body and take that offhand as a weapon to really protect from any defenders coming off the side there trying to tackle you, because they're going to try to hit you low. Again, when you're pressing to the line of scrimmage or pressing towards this bag, you want to really dip your weight down. Lateral step, and then take that near knee, that inside knee, and push it upwards after you plant your outside leg, accelerate to the next bag, plant that outside foot, shuffle, take that outside leg, plant, take that inside knee up, and transition all the way through. And as you can see, there's a setup there where you can stay low and be able to get through the drill without going too high. Last drill, very similar to the second drill, is just a bunch of cones. And again, you want to maintain good ball security and body position, taking a vertical towards the cone with the side shuffle, using the outside leg to push vertical. Once you plant that outside leg, push vertical. And as a coach, you can get a shield and again, slap at the football. Maintaining good body posture, good wrist over elbow, ball security, and then they have to squeeze. Emphasize squeezing the football as you explode. You have to strain. You have to strain. You got to get acceleration off of cuts. You don't get to a cut and stop. You're actually pushing off the cut. As you push off the cut, you got to simulate someone trying to grab the football. You want to squeeze that football, take a bag and hit them off the side there so they could emphasize and really prompt the ball security and accelerating with good body position. I'm going to talk a bit about two things, is inside zone and jet principles with outside zone blocking. Inside zone and outside zone, different aiming points, but I'm going to really touch more on the inside zone alignment and attacking the line of scrimmage and how to drill it. And I'm going to go into how to train the jet action as well. First step is you take an open step with your play side leg open out to the guard. So your aiming point is the back right leg, outside leg of the guard. As you can see right here, outside leg of the guard, you want to press that. The next step is a crossover step. So when you take that crossover step, you want to make sure you're still going to your aiming point, which is the outside leg of the guard. The backside leg crosses to the point of the outside leg of the guard. Then your third step is the lead step. Taking that lead step to make sure that you stay on your course to your aiming point. And then depending on the concept of the play, you would press to the line of scrimmage. This is an example of that. It is a very easy inside zone read, and the defenders in red represent the gaps that they ended up occupying. So as a running back gets to his aiming point, he will plant that outside leg. What I train our running backs to do is, as you're pressing the line of scrimmage, if nothing comes across your face, you keep going. But the minute you see something come across your face, you go towards it, plant that outside leg, and then push vertical. Plant that outside leg and push vertical. So this running back here would have taken a B gap cut because the 3 tech looks like it went outside. They doubled him out, so he had to cut right underneath that. Again, different principle. Again, same aiming point. As you're going to the outside leg of the guard, if you're seeing something come across your face early, like a one tech or a stunt, where now the nose tackle is coming across the face of the center, you still pursue the same aiming point. The only difference is the same thing is this: if it comes across your face early, plant that outside foot, and then you want to cut right underneath it. So this is where we talk about training the eyes. You want to train those eyes so that they come across their face. And as they get to that running back, you press the line of scrimmage, plant that outside foot, keeping the ball, good body position, wrist over elbow, and then push vertical, push up, and then you're able to make a successful cutback. Here's a drill, a zone cut drill to help simulate inside zone. Again, you would still have the same aiming points. The only difference is that you have multiple players out there. So this is a great drill if you have about 4 to 5 running backs. They all could be those guys in red. So they are the defenders, and the coach will prompt what direction they would go. The individual in green is the running back as he's pressing the outside leg of the guard, which is represented by those triangles, which is the cones. They would press, press, press. If nothing comes across their face outside, they keep pressing. The minute they see something go across their face to the direction that they were going, they plant that outside foot, push it vertical. So you can see the first clip shows a C gap cut. The next clip shows a B gap cut. And then you want to finish with a burst. So as they push vertical, you could have another coach there, another player there. They will just choose a side to go, and the running back, ball carrier will have to make an adjustment and look and see where they're able to go and accelerate with the football, high and tight, good body position, ball security. Here's another cut from the zone cut. Again, if you look into the left, you can see that that A gap cut is there. As he's pressing the line of scrimmage, the first thing he sees is a flash of color. So that's something else we also talk about is if you see a flash of color that's coming across your face, go towards it, press it, at that outside foot, push vertical, and then again, you want to simulate a burst. And then the last cut you can see right here, the running back has complete wash, where now the center has someone coming across their face. So the aiming point, you're still going towards your aiming point, but that cutback's going to be a little bit quicker, but you still want to press the line of scrimmage. And part of the reason behind that is when you press the line of scrimmage, that backside end is already going upfield. You can avoid him. And then you just sneak right behind that. Zone blocking is a tempo. Zone, when we talk about tempo and the flow of the game, this is an example of that, where the running back's steps have to be in sequence with the lineman steps. The first step of the running back is an open step. The first step of the lineman is a outside zone step, or any type of stepping to the right. Everyone is stepping in the same sequence. So as you get into the rhythm and the tempo of the game, you start talking about that. That's where now you get a feel for where the gaps are. And if you have confidence, you're comfortable and you're regulated, and now you can make decisions on where to go with the football. So when we talk about the mindset, you don't want to be telling your ball carriers too much other than basic rules on how to press the line of scrimmage and then go. The next one I will talk about is jet, which is very similar to outside zone principles. Aiming points a lot different, but obviously with the jet action, you can see the H is coming in motion. He takes the hand off. He's getting around the corner. This is another one of those undercoached plays where we're not coaching our receivers how to read blocks. We're just assuming they know where to go with the football. And then when they get into a game, now it's a 5-yard loss because they're trying to get around the edge when the defense has got good contain. So how I teach our slots is to keep their eyes on a 45. So after they get the football, even though they're still going 90 degrees or lateral across the line, their eyes are on a 45. Similar to running zone, they keep going. If they see something come across their face, they have a decision to make. If they don't see something come across their face, you keep going. So eyes on a 45, that's real key. So in this drill, you can see there's a ball carrier in green coming in motion, takes the handoff, and then you have a cone right here, or a bag, or an offensive player as a blocker, and then you have the defender that's waiting to make a decision on what side they're going to choose. As you can see in this scenario, the defender gets inside leverage, which should tell us that the receiver, whoever's blocking him, he's going to pin him inside. So as the ball carrier is getting his eyes on a 45, going across laterally, he sees green grass, he keeps going. He sees green grass, he keeps going. If he doesn't see anything come across his face, keep running. Don't force a cutback. Don't allow yourself to be in a scenario where you're cutting back into traffic. Take whatever is given to you by the defense. Don't force the issue unless the defense forces it for you. Here is scenario 2. Again, if this slot receiver is coming in motion, takes the handoff, and now his eyes is on a 45, and he sees a defender come across his face, similar to inside zone, comes across his face. Now he sees color across his face, plant that outside leg, you knife it right underneath it. The key is when you cut underneath the defender or the blocker that's pushing him out, you still have to split the difference, meaning you're just not going to make a complete 90-degree cut. You're going to kind of plant and really knife it. And I'll show this on film, but as you cut through it, you got to split it. And the reason why is that after you split it, you still have the flow of traffic coming after you. So that's why we have another defender there to kind of simulate the flow of the inside linebacker, backside linebacker, defensive tackle end potentially. They're coming towards you as you're jetting. You can't just make a 90-degree cut and go upfield unless it's there for you. You got to cut up. You want a knife right underneath it and then break it back out. These same principles are the same for even catching a toss sweep. If you get a toss and you go to the perimeter, you keep going. But if you see something come across your face, you plant that outside foot going towards it, knife right underneath it, split them, and then break it right back out, as you can see in this diagram, right? So you can still gain yards on jet just because they have outside leverage. It's all about the tempo and the flow of how you reach it, and that's really how it goes down. All right, so here's our first example of basically outside zone blocking with jet action. So as the perimeter defenders are flowing to the ball, is the responsibility of the ball carrier to recognize what's across the field. Even as a pre-snap, you should look over and see the leverage of the defender. And as you press that outside part of the perimeter, you have to be available and aware of what's coming in front of you. So this is something you have to walk through with your guys. We used to do this on Thursdays before Friday nights and just walk them through really what that looks like. You have to literally walk through it. And this is an example of jet. And this is where I was at Central Catholic, Toledo Central Catholic. I was a receivers coach there last season. And we come in from the jet. Ball carrier sees it, comes across his face. He sees it, comes across his face. You go towards it and you just knife it. Good perimeter blocking by our receiver. And there you go. You can see here again that as the ball carrier's approaching the ball, takes the handoff, his eyes immediately is on a 45. His body's going lateral, his body's going 90, but his eyes are looking 40 or 45. And he sees it, plants that outside foot, he goes towards it. He doesn't make a full out 90-degree cut. He really knifes it on a 45, eyes on a 45, and just knifes it. And then he comes underneath it, and he finds green grass. Another example, literally on the next play, we run the same play, and we go to the field again, and now they know it's coming. We ran jet a few times in this game, and as we are approaching it, we have to make adjustments, just like a running back would do on inside zone. You got to do the same thing on outside zone, really, but in jet action. So again, getting ready to get set up there. They get the call. We're going jet to the left. Coming across here, again, his eyes are on a 45. He needs to see if something's going to take away his angle. Takeaways and gets the football, eyes on a 45. Now he has two decisions to make. Can he bounce outside and make it? Possibly. The running back's going to be blocking the outside threat, which is the defensive end at this point. But he sees green grass because he's trusting his principles. And as you can see, he is eyes on a 45, plants his outside leg. Really watch how he drops it. And this is a receiver. This is a Division I prospect. Coming out here, he gets the football, drops his hips, presses upfield with a burst. All right, attacks the defender, squares him up, and then breaks it back outside. See that again? Eyes on a 45 is really key, really easy to teach. Teach it in your drills and drill it. It comes naturally. We don't tell him where to go with the ball. We let his instincts work for himself. We just give him key pointers. Comes across his face, plants that outside foot. Most guys would have kept running and maybe not be able to make it. This is a very good running back, receiver, prospect that's going to play Division I college football. But you know what? As you can see, the defense gives up their inside leverage, plants the outside foot, squares him up, breaks him down like it was the bag, and he's out the gate. Teaching a ball carrier is more than just taking a handoff and going with it. Even in Little League, you take a sweep, the best player on the team takes it, hits it around the corner, and they develop those habits as they get through middle school, and they go on to high school, and somewhere between their freshman to sophomore year, certain guys start to separate themselves. The physical abilities will always be intact if they're really good, but if they're not conditioned to react and have the mentality to really take it to the next level, it could really make it difficult to take it to the next level. Do not neglect the ball carrier. These guys are they're delivering the mail. These are the guys that are going to take you to the promised land after the offensive line creates a hole for them. You have to condition that mindset from the beginning. You got to build those principles in from the beginning. You got to build their confidence and their trust from the beginning. And as you drill them, simulate all those different things, and then you have a complete ball carrier. These are drills that can be done with quarterbacks. It can be done with running backs or receivers or even defensive backs. Anyone, punt returners, kick returners, ball carrier one-on-one, ball security, hold on to the football and be free. And it's a science and an art form. That means you got to put yourself in positions to be successful at both. Thank you very much. If you have any questions down the road, you can always email me at glewis@tps.org. That is glewis@tps.org. I'm interested in hearing your feedback. I really believe that the game is completely evolving. When I was a running back in college, I went from an I formation under Gary Blackney to then the spread offense with Urban Meyer. And I had to motion into the backfield and do a lot of different things. And I got some experience on both ends. And it all comes down to training the eyes, training the mind and the heart, and it all comes to fruition if you condition it the right way. So appreciate your time. Have a great one. Go Spartans.